Hello and welcome to a new episode of Eine, the business schnack by Laura and Gretel. And as you will realize, and it's a bit funny for me as well, this episode is going to take place in English. It's actually the first one in English. And that's due to my guest, Taina. And please, let's do it like this. You'll say your last name and I won't.
That's fine.
My guest today is Taina from Finland, and she's actually helping coaches and consultants who want to implement Notion as their tool of choice in their company. Taina, welcome. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much, Gretel, for having me. It's so fun to be on the show, and I'm super honored to be the first person to be in an English episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny, you know, I've been speaking English so much in my previous life, so to speak, before starting a company, and now it's very rare. So it's like, oh my God, I'm a bit nervous myself. But let's start with you. So what's your full name and what is it that you do exactly, Taina?
Yes, happy to tell you. So I'm Taina Pereeniemi, and what I do is I help coaches and consultants streamline their workload with these personalized business management systems on Notion. So what this means in practice is that I set up these like all-in-one workspaces in Notion where they can manage everything from tasks and projects to processes to customers, leads, and documents and team. So essentially helping them get rid of this chaos when it comes to keeping work and information organized and bringing it into a nice structure in one place, easy to find, easy to manage. Mm-hmm. So that way, for my clients, it's easier to scale without becoming super stressed and overwhelmed while doing it.
Yeah, and I can say that much. You're doing a really good job there, because this is exactly what Laura and I have done this year. We had so many different places to store information. We had a CRM tool. We had obviously Excel sheets. We had Google Docs, Google Sheets, whatever, emails, Slack, and so on and so forth. And we decided to bring it all together in a tool called Notion. I've been, or for me, Notion's been around since about 2 years or so. How is it for you? I mean, there's so many other tools out there, right? There's like Trello and Asana, Notion, ClickUp,
yes, yeah.
Why did you decide to focus on Notion?
Yeah, excellent question. I've been using pretty much all of the leading project or work management tools out there that you were listing there, and also built some client workspaces on those other tools before. And for me, it really boils down to the visual side and the flexibility of Notion. Always when I was using the other tools, I felt like really restricted by how you need to be setting up the workspace. It seemed like the developers of the system had kind of figured it out for you already, and there were a lot of features on these tools that you couldn't get rid of if you didn't need them. And then on the other hand, they were missing the possibility of setting up some things the way I would have wanted to. So I really fell in love with the flexibility of Notion, because you can make it just as simple as you need or as complex as you need, and anything between. And really, that way it's possible to create such a personalized system that you actually love to use it every day, and it truly fits the way your brain works as a business owner and the way your team likes to run things and stay on top of their game.
Yeah. And for example, for Laura and me, the situation or how it happened that we started to work together was that we had actually grown pretty fast, and you know, we had all the knowledge and information in our heads, and we realized, oh my God, we really need some structure now. I would say that this is the regular use case, or what's a good starting point to start using Notion? Because you could start with some templates. You could, when do you need somebody like you to get the whole thing set up, or what's a good minimum viable product there, like a minimum viable setup, let's say?
Yeah. So definitely when it comes to what kind of situation a business owner is in, I'll start with that. Definitely when you feel like you have things in way too many places, it's hard for you to grasp even or remember what everything you should be paying attention to, what should be prioritized next, what are all the different things you have on your table and where to find them when you need them. That's when you first of all need to start implementing some tool like Notion to bring things in one place and to keep things organized and prioritized and streamlined in that way. And then when it comes to actually creating that sort of minimum viable product of a management system on a tool like Notion, there are different ways to go. One of them is to set it all up yourself by learning how Notion works, watching some courses, YouTube videos. But that's maybe usually not the best way for a very busy business owner, because that can take a long while and it would all be time away from doing your actual work and getting those clients and serving those clients. But then, sorry, I'm still having a little bit of COVID from last week in my voice. But so then, as you mentioned, Notion also has a huge amount of free and paid templates out there that you can use to set up something quickly. And that's often where many of my clients have already also started. So they've looked at Notion's template library, maybe set up a lead tracker or a simple task manager, or maybe bought a template from some Notion creator out there. And that can work nicely as a minimum viable product to get some first things organized there. But then at some point that usually becomes a problem when you build your system of these separate templates that haven't really been designed to work together. There is no connection with, for example, how you manage your clients, how you manage your tasks, and they don't speak to each other. And also they have not really been designed with your business needs in mind. So they're kind of working, but not really. So if you really then want a system that's a good fit and that actually scales with your team and your business, I highly recommend looking at getting a Notion consultant's help, which is something that I do, because then we can really look into what it is that your business needs, how you would like things to work, and make sure that all of that becomes a coherent whole, that's where the pieces are actually working nicely together.
Yeah, I think you've done a very nice thing again now, because this is actually, for everybody who's listening, this is actually how our working together worked or happened. Like Laura and me, we came with many thoughts, and we need this, and we have this here, and how about that, and we have no clue about this. And this is a bit how my question was, like, what about this and this and this, Taina? And then the first thing you do is to structure the question. It's like, okay, Gretel, first we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. And so this, as I said, when we worked together, was pure magic for me all the way through. Like when your clients come with so many ideas and thoughts and things, and then again, they don't know the system, actually. They don't know what can be done, how it can be done, and they just throw it all at you, and you somehow create some workspaces out of it. Again, that was pure magic for me. But let's be, so let's just imagine somebody like me sitting there and not knowing what the system can do. Can you give us like 2 examples of how you can actually use Notion? You mentioned the lead list and the client information, but a bit more specifically, what can you do with Notion?
Yes. So what do you when you like take Notion as a tool, what you first get is you get these like different kinds of like blank canvases and these blocks, which are like Lego blocks that you can put together in different ways, databases where you can structure and organize different kinds of information and data. But when you use those building blocks and the blank canvas and pages that Notion is about, you can start setting up some really sophisticated stuff on top of it. So some good examples of things we commonly set up for my clients include, well, first of all, one of the core things, their task and project management. Then we, with all kinds of weekly planning possibilities, assigning and delegating tasks to team features so that they can fully manage their tasks and projects in one place. Then another thing we very commonly set up is everything that comes to managing the client relationship. So that can be about tracking the sales process, those leads in your sales pipeline, then moving them on to, when you close them, moving them to onboarding, and after onboarding, managing the whole client journey in your coaching or other programs you have. Also managing the like basic contact information behind those client projects. So who you're working with, what are all the details, their VAT numbers, their preferred payment methods, whatever. So keeping all that information organized. And then there's a lot of stuff that comes to delivering those client projects, such as coaching notes or documents the client sends you, things like that. So all of that can be brought into the right context, managed so that it's easy to find at the right time. Also, outside of the tasks and the client relationship management, other typical use cases might include managing and tracking goals, managing and tracking different kinds of notes and meeting memos, processes and SOPs. That's a very common one for entrepreneurs. Content planning, meaning how you plan your social media posts and schedule them together with your team. What else? Even financials we might manage for some clients, and things like hiring new team members or managing the people on your team and everything that comes along with that. So really kind of your creativity and imagination is kind of the limit to what you can manage in Notion. Anytime you have some work or some information that should be structured better, there are ways we can find to organize that on top of Notion.
And you've mentioned it now, and also on your Instagram, I think you talked about it quite a while, is the topic of SOPs. I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people who have no idea what SOPs are, even with the German translation. Could you let us know what it is and why you're so, no, I wouldn't say obsessed about it, but why it's so, why it's so important from your point of view?
Sorry. Yeah, SOP is definitely a 3-letter abbreviation every entrepreneur out there should know about, but still I can tell you there are many people who haven't yet come across it, and it can bring all sorts of trouble in the business. But what it is about, these standard operating procedures are essentially these like step-by-step guides or instructions to how you run certain processes inside a business. Because in any business imaginable, you will find certain routine things that take place multiple times and should be done in a pretty similar way every time. Examples of this could be how you onboard a new client to a program, or how do you offboard a client when they leave the program, or how do you do your monthly accounting, how do you update your website. All of these things happen more or less regularly and involve certain steps that should be taken in a consistent way. So what the SOP or standard operating procedure does is it helps you structure that information on what are the specific steps that need to be taken, and maybe what are the documents and links and resources related to making those steps happen, and bring that in one structured document that's called the SOP, so that then when the time comes to onboard a client or do something else, you can just give that SOP to one of your team members. You don't have to have 100 meetings to make it happen. You don't have to open WhatsApp and start going back and forth on what's going to happen next, but they're going to have the clear instruction right there. And then you can rest assured as the CEO that, hey, my team can handle this. They don't need to ask me all these questions all the time. Things will be done as they should with the help of those SOPs. So it's really why I'm so passionate about it, because it's really such a key to successfully growing a business, be it consulting or coaching or even any kind of business, to successfully grow it and make sure your team is able to help you. It's something essential to put in place.
Yeah. And in that aspect, I have to say the beauty also of working with you was that I'd say that we've also grown as business owners, right? Because now you've been talking about SOPs and how you have to create those things step by step. And honestly, for me, one of the biggest aha moments in our working together was also when you said, oh no, it's not you who has to write down all the SOP.
Oh, yeah.
Let the team member who actually does the process write it down. So the person who actually does the onboarding, next time she does it, she writes down every step, and the next time after that, she just checks if everything is correct and if this SOP is working out. So it doesn't mean that obviously there's initially more workload on us maybe, but also the person who, transfers all the information into the Notion workspaces, creates SOPs and so on and so forth, doesn't have to be the one running the business. So, that was also like this moment, like, you're right. That's why I hired a team.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you're very right. Maybe in the beginning when you're still operating solo, by the way, it's good to have SOPs already then when you're still working solo, then you know how everything goes. But when you have team members who have been doing certain things for you, they quickly become the actual experts in how to do it. So definitely it makes sense to outsource or delegate that SOP creation to the people actually daily working on those things as well. And by the way, that brings one thing to my mind, which is really important to mention about these SOPs. And that is that the only benefit is not just that you're able to run those processes more efficiently and more consistently, but then there's also this kind of risk aspect involved, that even though you would love to keep your wonderful team members forever on your team, there's going to be a moment when someone becomes sick or someone decides to leave. They might even have to go very quickly when you don't have time to make any proper handovers. And if that happens without that person having documented as an SOP how they do these certain key things in your business, no one is going to know that. You no longer know all the details. No one else on your team knows all the details. So that part of your business would quickly actually become broken. And that would be a disaster if a person leaves. But when you have it documented as an SOP, it's super easy. Well, not super easy, but much more easy to bring a new person in and just hand them over the documentation of how things work and what they should be doing. And then you don't need to worry about dropping balls and having important parts of how you operate become broken.
Yeah. And I think you've said a lot of smart things, obviously, but you've said an important thing here also, that we sometimes only think about those questions like structure and sharing information and so on when we've already grown, you know, when actually, even when we're still smaller business owners, you know, I think we, in that situation, we often don't consider ourselves as CEOs yet, or, you know, as business owners yet. It's like, oh no, I'm just doing my thing here, and I'm just, you know, making money and serving clients and doing this and doing that. And I have to say also for us, it sort of came as a surprise, like, oh wow, yeah, we don't have anybody like any fixed team member, but we're working with 4 freelance people on a regular basis every month. This could actually be considered a team, right? And it somehow happened quickly, and I think that's also one of the reasons why people look into issues or topics like creating a structure with Notion pretty late, because they don't consider themselves as the business owner, as the CEO yet. So this can only be like a wake-up call, people. You know, have a look at your system, have a look at where you spread information, how you share information, with who you share information, how much of this info is in your heads versus on some paper at least, or documented in some way. And reach out to Taina if you want to bring some more structure into your
always happy to help.
I'd also like to know, I mean, we've talked about your life as a business coach or a Notion coach, but how did you get there actually? I mean, you started your business in, I think, 2019. What did you do before, and why did you decide to do this rather than anything else? Because you have a master's degree in business and strategy. You had quite some work experience. Why on earth did you go for this topic and not something else?
Thank you for the question. So as you mentioned, I come from a background of doing my studies in industrial engineering and management, focusing a lot on corporate strategy. And I used to work in the corporate and startup world where I was spending a little bit over a decade helping these larger teams and larger companies set up and run their strategy and business operations. So it was quite a different setting than working with Notion and working with smaller business owners like coaches and consultants. I really loved that work, and it was hugely challenging and such a learning experience, getting to see how those large world-class organizations run these things. But at some point, I realized that, hey, there's a lot here that the entrepreneurs out there don't know about the best practices that could still be, with a little bit of tweaking, could be implemented for the small business context to help them run their businesses with such an improved efficiency, and help them scale their businesses in so much faster and with so much less overwhelm. So I really felt like, hey, I want to take this learning and experience from working with bigger organizations, working in the corporate and startup world, and bring that to the context of helping small business owners run their teams and run their businesses better. So I felt like that's a mission where I'm really the right person to do that. And somewhere along the way, while still working in one startup, I had discovered Notion, and I had been using it to organize my own work and set up some things for managing stuff in that company. But so it was a tool I really had grown to love, and it felt really natural to bring my focus on using that tool as a platform to set up those processes and set up those practices and systems for these small business owners to run things in a better way. So yeah, that's kind of the logic behind making that shift. But then when it comes to actually like the mental shift of wanting to jump from the corporate safer track of doing things and earning your income into this bandwagon called entrepreneurship, there personally the turning point really for me was when my first child Elsie was born. It really she showed me with her own example as a baby and a toddler how you don't need to take things too seriously. You can do what really feels fun, and you can try and fall flat on your face and rise back again, and it doesn't matter. So it kind of sparked this inner child in me who felt like entrepreneurship was something that would be truly fun for me and that I would like really passionately enjoy doing every day. And I no longer worried about maybe getting some things wrong the first time and having to figure things out through some mistakes along the way. So somehow that really pushed me to make that dream happen, and I'm super happy I was courageous enough to take that leap and start growing my own business back then.
So thanks to Elsie. That's amazing.
Forever grateful.
And now you have 2 small kids, actually.
Yeah, I do.
Still fairly small, both of them. How do you manage that? I mean, how is it? You know, do you have family around, or is there a good support system in Finland to look after the kids, or do you do that with your husband? Like, how do you? Because I guess also Finnish kids get and
they do quite too often. Yeah, so yeah, definitely combining parenting with entrepreneurship. It's not an easy puzzle to solve for sure. There are times when things get quite messy, but for me personally, the biggest thing definitely is having a husband that is very supportive of what I do and wants to share all the responsibilities with me, and the flexibility we have in our weekly and daily schedules of helping each other out to make things happen. So that's invaluable. And as you said, in Finland, we also have a really good support system in place from like the government in terms of providing inexpensive, high quality daycare for the kids, and all sorts of other support for families to make their lives possible. So that's also something I'm really thankful as a Finn to have that support system in place. And but then I must say that, and this is not a sales pitch for Notion, but really truly actually having my stuff together in Notion organized is actually really critical for me to be able to perform my best, even with this thing called life happening around me. So it really helps to have things clearly structured and prioritized, so that when I have that little break in between of sick kids and getting someone to take their nap, I know how to best make use of that time to really push forward my priorities.
I mean, and even though that wasn't a sales pitch, I think it was a perfect sales pitch. So how could people start working with you, or where can they find you? I mean, we'll obviously link your Instagram and so on below the podcast episode, below the YouTube video and so on. But what's a good way of starting to work with you?
Yes. So the typical way I work with my clients is that I run this Notion program where we first audit their business, so that I get a full understanding of how they work, what are the main pain points they have when it comes to keeping things organized and streamlined. And then together with the business owner and their team, I design this personalized Notion setup to manage everything in an optimal way. And then I set it up for them so that they don't need to be the Notion experts. They don't need to find all the right templates out there and put them together, but everything is done for you. And then, sorry. Yeah. And so then I stick with them for a month to provide daily one-on-one support in Slack, so that they get all their answers to their questions, and we still make adjustments and modifications to the system, because you never know in the start exactly how it should be. But then when you start using it in practice is when you might notice how things should be done. So that's the like typical setting I use to work with my clients, alongside some smaller consulting things when people need. And if something like that sounds interesting to you, what I do offer is a free evaluation call where we sit down for 45 minutes to understand where you are, and I can give you a better and more concrete idea of what your dream workspace might look like and what it would mean to work together with me. So if setting up a free evaluation call like that sounds interesting, you can find it on my website. That's www.tainapereeniemi.com/let's talk. So
we will link that.
Yes.
I guess the latest at the last name, people will be lost.
Oh yeah. It's better to have the link somewhere handy. But do reach out. No pressure, no cost. It's all free, and we'll just have a chat and understand where you are and how we might be able to help you out.
That sounds perfect. And you should also follow her for some advice on Instagram, some great reels. I really enjoy that content. Last questions, because I didn't find that on your website or your Instagram. Tell us a fun fact about you, Taina. Something that people don't know yet.
Okay. Well, if you came to my kitchen, you'd be surprised of this cupboard that I have, like full of teas. There's maybe 100 different teas all organized in different little boxes. So I'm a huge tea and especially green tea fan. So I love to maintain this collection of all kinds of fancy teas, and every morning I start with a very careful preparation of the perfect tea with the actual perfect temperature and time of having it in the water and things like that. So if you ever want to have a perfect cup of tea, you should come visit. And my tea collection is pretty extensive.
Wow. I mean, and again, it fits to your job with Notion, right? When you say it's all organized.
Oh, yes.
Little boxes and very neat and very structured.
That's maybe the only thing I don't have organized in Notion, though. Maybe I should develop something around that as well.
That'd be awesome. So Taina, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for sharing all this information. It was a real fun chat. And again, I've learned a lot. I can by heart recommend working with Taina. She's made such a change to our business structure and organization. And yeah, if you want to have a good cup of tea, apparently just go and fly to Finland and she'll have the perfect tea for you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Gretel. It was such a pleasure to be talking with you this morning.
Perfect. And for everybody else, you know, as with every episode, we'll be super happy if you give us some likes, some stars, some hearts, whatever it is that there is on the podcast hoster of your choice. Go and check out Taina, send us some comments about the show, whatever it is. We're super happy to hear from you. And if not, we'll be around with the next episode of Moin um 9. Bye bye.